Let's do jewelry for a second. We'll talk jewelry for just like 5 minutes here. I had a good question. Um, Taxco or Old Pawn? Old Pawn or Taxco? Navajo, Zuni, Hopi, or William Spratling? How do you tell the difference? Um, Style, hallmarks, even color, what's incorporated into the piece, how it's made, uh, and experience. I have some pieces laid out here and I will show them to you here one at a time. We'll just pan over them and you can look and make a guess, before I tell you whether it's Taxco or Old Pawn. So here, take a look. A bib or a choker necklace with a matching bracelet. Another demi-parure, which means it's a I guess a partial set. It's a bracelet, a necklace, and earrings. Or rather, that's a parure, not a demi-parure. A parure is a complete set. A demi-parure is a partial set. I'm going to eat my words on that one. Anyway, just a thin necklace, cuff bracelet, and some other unidentifiable necklace. Which do you think is Taxco? Which do you think is Old Pawn or Native American made? Taxco, Native American. Taxco, Taxco, Native American. You'll get turquoise jewelry and Taxco stuff, but not as often as you do with the Native American stuff. These you could consider Old Pawn. Both of these pieces are relatively old, this one especially. Old Pawn pieces a lot of the time are not marked. The Native Americans that made them did not make them to sell them. They made them a lot of the time as just collateral. Like they created beautiful works of silver because they didn't have their own banks or money systems on the reservations, so they used these as collateral with pawn shops on the outskirts of the reservations. So the pawn shop would take it and they would get credit, and then they would come back and retrieve their pieces of jewelry or their family heirlooms with about I think it was like a 10% or 15% interest fee. And that's where you get the saying old pawn. So they would literally pawn their jewelry. And they traveled a lot too, so it almost acted like as a bank or like a safe place to hold their jewelry. They would take on they'd accept a payment from the pawnbroker, and then they'd come back and retrieve their jewelry. If they did not retrieve their jewelry, it became dead pawn. You hear that sometimes too. There's old pawn and there's dead pawn. And it became dead pawn when they did not reclaim their jewelry and the 120 days or the year or whatever the term was up. And then the pawn store sold the jewelry. So they sold the dead pawn jewelry to, cover their credit that they gave to whoever consigned the piece to them. So again, old pawn is older stuff, darker patina, usually not a ton of hallmarks. This one has an interesting one. I was never able to find that hallmark. It strikes me as, Navajo motifs. You've got the feather and the coral and the turquoise in it. And this, another nice older turquoise stone, and sometimes they turn more of a green when they've been in contact with the skin and oils and whatnot. So that's a pretty common color. I take it back. This one is marked. I thought this one was not marked, but still a nice older piece. I don't think it's necessarily early 20th century. I would say it's 1950s at the newest. And then I guess just real quick, these Taxco pieces, this is a William Spratling, which is the original OG Taxco guy. So he's a guy that really got everything rolling down there. American, I believe. But he went down there in the 20s, and you can see his hallmark on there. This is actually an eagle mark. They stopped using that in the 70s. But you can see the WS, William Spratling. So that's a cool necklace. This is Victoria. I believe it's Victoria de Taxco. So Victoria of Taxco, I guess, is a translation on that. Really nice set. Already talked about it briefly. 19, I would guess 50s on that as well. Maybe 40s. Again, really nice multiple hallmarks. You don't get hallmarks like this on most Native American pieces. You'll get sterling and then the designer name, but with the Taxco Mexico pieces, you'll get the eagle, you'll get a number, you'll get Taxco, you'll get 925, you'll get sterling, you'll get Victoria on that one. You can see this one pretty much has everything. So all those hallmarks there. And this is a newer Taxco set, and this is Alicia, or Alicia, I don't know how you pronounce it. Newer hallmark. It's got the number system, so it's post eagle hallmark. So it's the T dash the number. So whoever this number is assigned to, it's really hard to track down what artisan is assigned to what number. But this one, I believe the T would actually mean Taxco. So this set was actually made in Taxco, which is cool. I would say 1980s on that, probably. So there you go. That's the overview on Old Pawn, or Dead Pawn, if you feel like calling it that, and, versus Taxco Mexico.